what's up? It's Renee Mija. In this video, I'm going to be comparing 3 of my tape machines against a digital version of the exact same song. Now, the track was mixed down with analog, and it was recorded with a mixture of analog and digital. It's for my song Shift. I've been wanting to do this comparison test for a while. I did it a couple of years ago and got some really startling results when I compared digital to analog, even when using a series of tape machine plugins to see if I could make the digital sound more like a conventional tape machine. What I found is that nothing beats analog tape. So we're going to be using the Fostex E-16 tape machine. It is an incredible tape machine. Also the Tascam TSR-8 and Portastudio 424. This video will help you learn about the differences between different types of analog tapes. It's great if you're interested in analog. It's also wonderful to hear different tape comparisons to digital. Both of the big tape machines are half-inch tape. One is 8 tracks and one is 16 tracks, and that does make a huge difference. The one that I have that is 16 tracks does need to be repaired, so about 12 to 14 of those tracks are usable, but it is an amazing machine. The Tascam, however, is up to factory standards, so it's going to be a really clear reflection of what the 8 tracks sound like. As far as what tape I'm going to be using for the tape machine, I'm going to be using 2 different types. One is the RTM SM-900. That's made by Recording the Masters. They still make tape to this day, which is awesome. The SM-900 is one of the best analog tapes in my opinion, but it doesn't work well on all tape machines, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So this is what half-inch tape looks like, and we can compare it to this cassette tape, which is probably about 1/8 of an inch or so much thinner. The cassette tape machine that I use has 4 tracks. So we'll discuss some of the differences in just a moment. For the cassette portion, I recorded with the Denon HD-8 tape. This tape came out, I believe, in the late 1980s, if not the early 1990s. And also, we're going to be using the Maxell 90 minutes. This is pretty standard. This tape came out, I believe, in the 90s. And on the tape machine right there, I have the ATR 102 tape. That is my favorite analog tape to use for almost everything. I also have the RTM SM-900 tape, but we're not going to be using that in this particular demonstration. So I'm going to be deciding between the tracks. I think I already know which one I'm going to go with for the master of this song. So before we get started, let's talk a little bit about why the different tape machines, which one. I love analog tape machines. However, each analog tape machine is going to be a little bit different. They all have their pros. They all have their cons. They have the super huge 2-inch tape machines, which we've talked about several times on here. You have beautiful 1-inch tape machines. I know Tascam makes a really good one. You've got all different types, the Atari, tons of different types of tape machines. The reason why I went with the Tascam TSR-8 is because something about that particular sound I really enjoy. It's very balanced and it sounds modern, but it still has a little bit of an analog tape saturation and compression, but not too overpowering. It doesn't give too much character and it doesn't give too much color, as we'll see in the demonstration. With the E16, what I love about that one is it has its own unique sound. I consider it to be kind of a magical machine. I know Enya used it on her famous album, and one of the ones that I have actually was used on the hit song by the group Tag Team, the song Whoop There It Is from the 90s. That's pretty cool in itself. But I love both tape machines. However, my E16 does need to be repaired. It can be very unpredictable. At times, it will sound perfect and it'll add all kinds of characteristics that I didn't think a tape machine could add. And other times, not so good. So with the E16, at times it'll add a lot of character, it'll add a lot of color, tons of compression, tons of saturation, and it can really do magical things to a track. However, if you were having to work exclusively on tape, you don't necessarily want that unpredictability. And that's why I don't recommend the E16 as a primary method of recording, because it is going to add a lot of density, a lot of color, a lot of saturation, and it's going to give it its own sound and character that may not be good for all songs. However, I love it for certain songs. And on some days, I just record digital. With the Tascam 424 Portastudio, we've talked about that in past videos. I got that as my entry-level tape machine. I really, really liked it, and that inspired me to get a bigger tape machine. Now, the more tape width that you have, typically the more fidelity you will have on your recording. It will sound a little bit more sparkly, more three-dimensional. In certain cases, it will sound more open, fuller, and you can even get like a super thick sound that may be harder to get with thinner tape. However, some people that have thinner tape, such as a 1/4 inch, which is quite popular, love it. Most songs in the 1970s were recorded with 1/4 inch tape machines, and some people really like that sound. For my personal taste and preference, I prefer 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 2 inch, but the 2 inch tape machines are very expensive, very large, and they use a lot of power. I had to record this video a couple of times because I was having issues with my Fostex E-16. It's a very weird machine, a little bit unpredictable. However, I was still able to get solid recordings for that one. So we'll check it out on my song Shift. And a little bit more about this song Shift. This song is a song that I recorded just for fun, pretty much. I never planned on releasing this song publicly. And when I recorded it very fast. I didn't go through my normal process. I didn't make sure I was getting maximum fidelity or anything like that. I just wanted to get the song done very quickly. So I had a challenging time mixing this song because it wasn't really recorded to be in a mixed environment, if that makes sense. It was just recorded more so as something for myself that would be quick that I could listen to. I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to experiment with mixing styles and play around and do some cool stuff. So with that said, let's see what the tape machines do with this recording. It should be really cool. All right, so we're going to toggle between the different ones, and let's start off with digital only. This is going straight from the mixing board into the computer. Alright, so that's the digital version only. Now let's hear the ATR with the Tascam TSR-8. The same part. And mind you, the only thing I did differently was one went to the tape machine and the other one went straight into the computer. And you hear there's a night and day difference. Let's toggle between just the ATR 102 and the digital version. Analog, tape, digital. Analog, tape. Digital. Analog, tape. Big night and day difference. Now, can I go through and make some tweaks and changes from within the computer and try to make it sound more like the tape? Yes. Will it sound the same? It's going to be missing something. It's not going to be quite the same if I do that. All right, let's compare the different tape machines as well. So this is the Tascam with the ATR 102 tape. Now let's compare it to the SM-900 tape. You're probably not going to hear a huge difference, but let's go for it. ATR. SM-900. ATR. Now let's compare the SM-900 to the digital version. Start with digital. SM-900 back to digital. You hear how much more closed it sounds? Tape. Digital. You hear how much more closed the digital version sounds. It's like when you put it through the tape, all of a sudden it opens it up, widens it, gives it more punch, saturation, more clarity, a little bit more three-dimensional. So really the hardest part in this is deciding between the ATR and the SM-900 tape. I'm probably going to end up going with the ATR because I like the little bit of a brighter sound, but they both sound phenomenal. So let's move on to the Fostex now. So we're going to compare the Fostex to the digital. I have not heard this played back in comparison, so this should be fun. So let's start off with digital again. And Fostex. Wow. Fostex. Now you hear how much louder the harmonies sound? That is the tape machine. That's what's so interesting about that Fostex tape machine. I've seen it bring out guitar solos that were very faint. I've seen it bring out harmonies and make them louder and change up the tone a little bit, but it sounds really cool. So let's hear the Fostex versus the ATR. Again, nothing in the mix has changed. All the tracks have been normalized. One is going from my mixing board directly into the computer, into the interface. I'm using the RME 802 interface. And the other ones are going straight from the tape machine into the RME 802 interface. That's the only difference. No EQ, no compression, no limiter, no anything else has been added. So let's compare the two tape machines, the Fostex and also the ATR. I love doing this part right here. Fostex. Now you notice with the Fostex you hear a lot more of the low end rumble, the kick drum, a lot more of the low end in general. Sometimes that works really well. Some of this also has to do with how the tape machine is calibrated and how I have my Fostex tape machine aligned. So I aligned and calibrated my tape machine in kind of a unique way. For the Fostex, the ATR is factory standard, but you are going to hear a big difference in the tape machine sound itself. So let's go through and compare both of the tracks. So the Fostex is a lot flatter at the top and wider at the bottom. The ATR with the Tascam is more open at the top and flatter at the bottom. So it's pretty cool how they have their unique differences. We'll also compare, just for fun, the Tascam SM-900 tape with the Fostex. Fostex. SM-900. The top end, the acoustic guitar is a lot more sparkly. The Fostex has that big booming low end with the tom drums, the kick. Now let's compare it with cassette. So let's start off with digital. Maxell cassette. Digital. Maxell cassette. You know, it's kind of funny because the Maxell cassette tape has its own cool little sound that I like. At some point, I'm going to try the ATR brand new tape and see how this sounds, but that's a whole different test. Let's compare between the Denon cassette and the Maxell cassette tape. Maxell. Denon. Maxell. Denon. Yeah, so let's hear it one more time. Digital versus cassette. This is the Maxell cassette tape. Digital. Cassette. Cassette. Digital. Even though the cassette sounds not as good as the big reel-to-reel tape machines, I still like how the cassette sounds more than the digital version. It still sounds more open, more three-dimensional, and kind of cooler. I like it. All right, now let's go through and toggle between all of them, starting with digital. Tascam ATR. Now. Tascam 900. Digital. Cassette. Digital. Fostex. Digital. Cassette. And I've ran all sorts of tests. I've used all of the different types of tapes, the RTM SM-900, the RTM SM-911, Quantity 456 tape, also the Ampeg 456 tape, also the ATR 102 tape, and I have another type of tape. And I've gone through and done the painstaking test, setting each one up on each reel-to-reel machine, and use different mixing boards and use different sounds. Sometimes I'll just solo out the vocals, sometimes I'll do the full mix, etc. Days and days, if not weeks and weeks of test. What you are hearing is legitimate. Analog tape rules. Now, can you get amazing sounds with just the digital alone? I have found in the past that even if I love my Mixdown and I mix it with analog and bounce it to digital, as soon as I transfer it over to the reel-to-reel and hear it, I can't go back to the digital version. I always like the reel-to-reel version. It adds something a little bit different. We'll hear one more clip again between the SM-900, the ATR 102 on the Tascam, and the digital version. So this is digital. ATR Tascam. Digital. SM-900. Digital. ATR 102. Digital. And I think I'm going to stick with the Tascam SM-900. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit the like button and make sure to subscribe. Set the notification bell for all so you don't miss any future videos, including live streams where you can ask questions and we can chat and hang out. Please check out my other videos on mixing, mastering, music production, official new music videos, and new music by me. And until next time, I hope you have an awesome, fun, cool, amazing rest of the day. Till next time, bye-bye.